Good morning, everybody. You're very welcome to this morning's interview. We're joined by Kyra Fingleton. Kyra is the owner of the beautiful Glamping Under the Stars camping facility right here in Laois. You're very welcome, Kyra. Thanks for joining us today. So, Kyra, would you like to give us background as to how you started your business and your story, your backstory to it?
Okay, thanks. Yeah, we started Glamping Under the Stars. Really, it was something that was missing from Laois, that there was no other glamping facilities here. And we tried to book glamping elsewhere and had found that it was quite booked up. So we knew that it was popular. And I was, at the time, I had been working in advertising and marketing and things like that, but we just got small children and I didn't really want to be doing the commute and so on. So I said I was looking for something that was going to fit in with my family and my life. And so it all sort of, the stars aligned, and we decided we'd give it a go. And we set up with 3 bell tents and a little gypsy caravan, which we had on loan from a brother-in-law of mine who used to run the horse-drawn caravan business locally, which I don't know if anyone remembers that, but he had kept one of the caravans as a sort of souvenir. So we had that on loan with the 4 accommodations to start with. And we've done 5 seasons now, and it's developed a little bit at a time. So we still have the 3 bell tents, but we also have 2 wooden cabins, wood lodges, which were bespoke made by my husband, and they're a lot more luxurious, say. And then we replaced the gypsy caravan a couple of years ago with a shepherd's hut, which was also hand built. So we've got these much more luxurious offerings now, and it's really popular with families, especially with small children. And a lot of people will book out the whole site for hen parties and extended family gatherings and things like that. So
yeah. And I was so intrigued when I knew there was a glamping site in Laois. When I came to the road first, I had to come out and see it, and it was really, it's stunning, and it's just in the middle of nowhere, but it's a little bit of heaven, I suppose, particularly when the weather is good to us. So well done for having the foresight to spot that gap in the market. So in terms of this summer, really, it's, you know, COVID hit at the beginning of your season, and since then we've had 3 lockdowns. And that completely affected your season. And now when there is a lockdown and you're not even you can't be, you know, you're closed now for the season, I'm sure.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we normally operate between April and October. So the lockdown this year came, really, we were closed before we opened this year. We were sort of just ramping up to the start of the season when the news came that, you know, we were going to be closed for some of that time. Okay. And at first it was a big sort of shock because we weren't sure, you know, would we get open at all? Yeah. So that was the initial kind of bombshell. And, you know, we'd staff lined up. Actually, we recruited a couple of staff through the Laois Jobs Fair, which was organised by the Chamber. So that was, you know, we'd found 2 lovely girls who were going to help us out with the cleaning and all that kind of side of things. We had them ready to go, and we had to sort of put them on the back burner, if you like, and stall our start.
Yeah. And I know through the Laois Offaly Kildare lockdown, you were able to offer camping to Laois families. So there were families like coming 5 miles down the road for their holidays and absolutely thrilled to have that option.
Yeah, it was, I mean, the support was incredible, local support especially. So during the first lockdown, we had to get people to postpone and delay their holidays. And actually most people were very understanding, very willing to do that. So we got through that one. And then we were hit with the as you say, the regional lockdown for Laois, Offaly, Kildare. And at first we closed because we didn't know if it was okay to open or not. But when we found out that we could open for Laois people, we were inundated with calls from people who'd had to cancel their holidays. You know, they were planning to go elsewhere within Ireland or wherever. But they were just desperate to get away for a few days with the kids, and they were so, you know, so grateful to have a change of scene. And as you say, you've seen the place. It is kind of a world away from the norm. It's kind of a step outside of reality, nearly. So just to have the glamping and the campfire, and just to have something of an adventure, even if they were only down the road.
I know I've spoken to some of the parents of those families, and the fantastic piece to that is they didn't have to travel too far. So there was nobody's saying, are we nearly there? Are we nearly there? Because it just took them like 10 or 15 minutes. So just moving on to, you've availed of some of the government supports, I'm sure, over the last few months in terms of Restart Grant.
Yes, yeah, we qualified for the Restart Grant, so we got some finance through that, and we were glad of it because we had to make quite a serious investment in rejigging our site to meet the COVID requirements.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's outdoors and it's in the fresh air, so it is quite well set up for social distancing anyway. But we had communal kitchen facilities and communal bathrooms. So we've 6 accommodations here. We had 3 bathrooms. But that just was going to be a non-runner, and we were sort of deciding, would we open half the site and just have the 3 running?
Okay.
But in the end, we set up an extra 3 bathrooms and made that investment, and decided that probably this situation was going to be with us for a bit longer, and that we'd be glad of it, you know, into next year.
Exactly.
So that was kind of, it was an investment that we decided to make, but we were glad that we got something back to help with that.
And in fairness, that's a long-term, there'll be a long-term gain with that, even post-COVID, you know, it's always...
it's definitely an upgrade. People were delighted to have their own private facilities. And we put in extra barbecues, and everyone gets a cooking kit now, and there's a little... We had one communal campfire area before, but now everybody has their own chimney to toast marshmallows, and so they get the full glamping experience, but socially distanced if they want that, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And in terms, I'd imagine the management of cash flow has been tricky for you with having cancellations, I'm sure, throughout the summer.
Yeah, well, I suppose it was more of a worry at the start of the season because we were delighted with ourselves. We got so many bookings ahead of time. Every weekend booked for this year from the start of January onwards. And then, you know, the bombshell came that we might have to refund everything. And, you know, I think people sort of assume you have that money sitting in the account there, but we reinvested it into, you know, new tents and infrastructure and all the rest of it. So, you know, we were thinking, how are we going to work this? But we sort of came up with a bit of a PR campaign to encourage people to postpone rather than cancel. And I put together a press release and sent it out to the sort of media outlets, and a lot of them covered us. Actually, we got quite a lot of PR coverage out of it. But we was just so grateful to our guests who did stick with us, and most people were happy to postpone. But there was a few sleepless nights where we were worried about, if we had to refund everybody in the morning, that would be the end of the thing altogether.
Yeah, well, I suppose sometimes it's nice to just go back to your customers and explain to them, and people are very understanding most of the time, 90% of them anyway. And in fairness, you did get some great PR, and I suppose that's your advertising background comes in handy when, you know, in times of a crisis, in particular when you need to get your messaging out there.
Yeah, and I would say we were so fortunate as well to have, there was supports from the Chamber, from yourself, Bernie. I know you had 1 or 2 calls from me, frantic calls, and I really appreciated having somebody to turn to. Laois Tourism, the ladies at the Big Idea were brilliant as well. And I have to say, other business owners, I saw your interview with Dara Cruz, and I actually contacted him on the head of the discussion you had, and he was very helpful and sympathetic, you know, being in a similar industry. And also the Kent family over in who run the Manor Hotel. So other hoteliers, we were kind of sharing our woes and comparing notes on how best to handle it. And
there's a certain comfort in knowing that other people are going through the same pain, I suppose, that you're not on your own.
Yeah, and just to get a head check, a sanity check on how best to handle the situation, because, you know, completely unprecedented. What do you do?
What do you do? Exactly.
Yeah, so if there was any positive to come out of it, aside from the PR and whatever, it would be that sort of networking connection with other business owners. I think people have really come together in Laois to support one another and try and now there's this whole shop local vibe going on. Which
that's right. The Laois gift card will be available hopefully by the end of this week in stores. So in terms of opportunities, have you, I suppose, you have increased your facilities and, you know, built more toilets and all of that. So I suppose that's going to add, you've upped your game, I suppose, and you're adding value now to the customer experience.
Yeah, I think the opportunities were on the PR side, just to try and handle things and to do the right thing by people. You know, I suppose our ethos is all about integrity and being good to our guests, and you know, it's supposed to be fun and that we're very kind of transparent and all that, rather than a big, you know, faceless hotel chain or something. You know, that it is me that you're talking to when you make the booking, and it will be me who'll be refunding you if anything goes wrong, you know. So there was that aspect to it, but and to get in touch with other business owners locally. But I suppose, just maybe even for local people to be more aware of us. I think people in Laois, a lot of people didn't know there was a glamp site in Laois. So they not only did they know, they also visited, and a few of them said they come back again next year. So that was good.
That's great. Repeat business is always a good sign. So no doubt you're looking forward to next season, and hopefully things will look very different come March or April.
Yeah, I mean, it's still hard to know, isn't it? There's still this idea that there could be a bit of a hokey cokey with lockdown, open up, lockdown, and that's quite hard to anticipate. And I think people are hesitant now maybe in making bookings for next year. Normally by this stage we'd have a lot of our weekends booked, and I think people are they're checking our COVID policy first. What's the story with the refunds? And again, we're trying to be as fair as possible and you know, make sure that people will get the money back if there's a lockdown, etc.
Exactly. I think once people have some little bit of kind of security and know what's ahead, I think there's going to be a mad rush for people to book things. So watch that space. I think, you know, maybe get Christmas out of the way. I think people need to get over that hump. And I think in January, February, people will want to know, they'll want to have something to look forward to.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And we are, as I say, we're very socially distanced. We're well set up for next year now, knowing what we know. You know, so
exactly.
Exactly.
Well, look, Kyra, it was great to catch up with you finally. I know we've attempted to do this a few times, but curveballs just kept getting thrown your way, and you know, you've done fantastically well to you've certainly have demonstrated huge resilience in your business this year, and I know it'll stand to you going forward. Thanks very much for your insights, and hopefully I'll be back down to visit you to see all your new improvements.
Thanks, Bernie.
Thank you.